Thank you so much for joining us for today's program about connecting with intention. I'm Caroline Tolbert, Associate Director of Women's Initiatives with Alumni Relations at the University of Rochester. This event is brought to you by the newly formed Women's Network, whose mission is to celebrate and harness the rich contributions of women around the globe who are part of the University of Rochester family. Through dynamic programming and engaging conversations, the network will help members connect and support one another. Cultivating meaningful connections is essential to building a trusted network, which can unlock opportunities, offer support, and provide needed guidance. Presented by the Women's Network's Personal and Professional Development Committee, this interactive workshop will explore how to approach context with purpose and craft your ask. We hope you leave with all the resources you need to hone your skills and take on networking with confidence. Now I'm going to turn it over to Sherry Finkel Murphy and Paulina Aravina Bravo, two of our Women's Network Personal and Professional Development Committee members, to get us started.
That's awesome. And thank you, Caroline. And thanks to everybody for the opportunity. I am Sherry Finkel Murphy, class of 1981. Don't tell anybody, because if you tell somebody, I have to kill you. And my goal for the Women's Initiative is to help us become an alumni networking powerhouse, whether it's jobs or clients or resources. I would love for the Women's Network to be known for its power. And I think that's an attractor in any alumni network. So this is really exciting for me to share how I do this. I've had two careers. I'm still in number two. In my first career, I was in technology sales, sales leadership, sales management, sales coaching. And now I am a certified financial planner practitioner. So I am in the financial services industry. I am joined by the fabulous Paulina Aravena Bravo. Why don't you introduce yourself, Paulina?
Thanks, Sherry. Hello, everyone. Well, my name is Paulina Aravena Bravo, and I'm a speech therapist, and I'm also a psychologist. I graduated from the University of Rochester in 2015 with a master's degree in human development. And currently, I'm a clinical professor at the University of Chile, here in Chile, where I was born and raised. I came back to Chile in 2016. And since then, I started with my colleagues, an agency for certified career services providers. And I knew that I wanted to be part of the academy, but not just a researcher. I knew that I wanted something broader and to empower community and female community. So that could empower also their side of professional development. Yeah, so thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure.
I am getting such a kick out of the fact that we are in North America and South America simultaneously Zooming. We span multiple generations of the alumni network. So this is, I'm just grooving on this. I'm going to ask Caroline to put up our poll. You know, we start these with a poll and it should guide our questions at the end. So we're coming in fast and furiously. I think we've got everybody. So our big wins here are to learn something, to be connected to resources, to become part of community, and then secondarily, to find a job, to find clients. Wonderful, thank you for sharing that. I have a confession to make before I begin. I am not a brilliant networker. I have never been a brilliant networker. I am a functional introvert, self-described. And I have made the best use of what talents I do have in both of my careers to meet people, to make heroes, and to accomplish my business goals. My best friends are lovely, but they are not business people. So I don't have a huge network. I have a tiny family. And what you can't see on Zoom is that I'm only 5 feet tall. And when I go to a mixer or a social event or stand at a bar, which I was never good at for that reason, the conversation is literally going over my head. So it's not my core skill. And I think that's why I wanted to share the things that I do to make networking or intentionally connecting, as I say, rewarding and productive. And I want it to be rewarding and productive for you. The second thing I guess I want to add is that nothing comes without practice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through a total of 3 or 4 slides conceptually about how I approach connecting. Paulina and I are going to role play a short Zoom coffee meeting, if you will. And then we're going to recap. While we're doing our role play, we're going to ask you to start work on your homework. And I'll talk about the homework, the ask there. So there's nothing new here. This is just information in a new way. When networking works, you are effectively selling a relationship to the person across the table from you and not a transaction. And you have to trust that transactions, whether they are jobs, clients, business ideas, or resources, they come. But if you approach networking from an I want to get to know you and see if we have a values match, can we be friends? That's when networking works best. It helps you set your reputation when you are in the business of making people look good. So it's going to burnish your reputation so that people know you. And in the spirit of everything is a semaphore, meaning everything sends a message, you can use it to influence things that are besides the immediate reason for the meeting. So the goal is to set you up for future business, not necessarily current business. And that's why one of the first tenets on the next slide is be networking before you need the network. There's a big difference when you approach networking, big difference between tell me about yourself and here's what I do. Tell me about yourself is you focused, and here's what I do is me focused. It's about me, 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 me. So being curious is, and these are, again, just reminders, being curious is a tenet of being a great networker. If you're a Dale Carnegie fan, that book's almost 100 years old. And oh my gosh, How to Win Friends and Influence People is still a marvelous way to live, by being curious and by making friends. And of course, networking is not something tactical. It's a sort of a life skill. Build your business, ask for mentorship, enter a community, be a specific resource. Let's get the slides to behave. So successful networking. These 6 bullets I have delivered and keep reminding myself of all the time. Network before you need something. Always practice networking. Do a little research. Here's my Dale Carnegieism. People don't care what you know until they know how much you care. So take time to make notes about people. Go to their LinkedIn site. Ask about their family. Make sure that caring is right up there in the front. Intend for the relationship, as I said, and here's where the rubber meets the road as a skill. Always make an offer So develop language that you're happy with that enables you to offer something to the person across the table, whether it's a proverbial table or an actual table, and always have an ask. The network, AKA the universe, cannot provide you with what you want if you are merely or unspecific about your ask. And that we're going to come back to that because that's going to be your homework and your job to refine that over time. And the last thought is make an ambassador, be an ambassador. Networking works really well if you are offering your network to others. And sometimes we think the goal of networking is you are my target. I want something from you specifically. And that's not the most productive use of the person across from you. Sometimes it's, do you know someone? Do you know how? Can you guide me? And if you've ever been asked for something or been put on the spot, you know that it's much easier to do something at one degree of separation away than it is to do something yourself. So to be a resource, if I have a friend and we network and they say, you know, I'm interested in llama farming in Argentina, it's really easy for me to say, oh my gosh, I have a neighbor and my neighbor's a llama farmer. Let me introduce you to my neighbor. That kind of thing is much easier than trying to provide expertise in llama farming or for somebody to say, Sherry, do you know something about llama farming? So those are my 6 tenets and I use them all the time. The order, I keep skipping slides, so let me go up again. I don't know why my technical difficulties are getting the better of me. I'd like you to think of you, me, you as a method for conducting the conversation, framing the conversation. So things I can ask about you when I meet you are, who is your ideal client? Or can you share with me a little about what you do? What's your ideal position for a job hunter? What resources do you need? How can I help make you look good? I use that all the time. How can I help make you look good? How can I get you what you want? And can I ask you for advice? By the way, a PDF of this will certainly be available to you in the follow-up. Those are really key questions to focus on the you first. Now, that means that you need to be prepared to answer those questions when you're on the other side of the table and it's your turn. If I'm networking with you and I say, how can I help you make you look good? What can I help you get? What do you want? Well, you can't say, I don't really want anything. That makes for an unproductive networking relationship. So I encourage you once again to know very specifically what you want to ask of the universe. There's nothing worse than wasting networking capital by not having an ask. You don't know going into the conversation what you can give, but you know what you want to ask. And hopefully that makes sense. So after the you is the me. So before we go, let me share with you my ideal job client, where I'm going to be in 5 years, what I'm looking for, etc. And I indicate that part of being a good networker for me is, I always say, I collect alpha women. I want to be an ambassador for you, and I want you to be an ambassador for me. So my reason for telling you who my ideal client is, or who my ideal whatever is so that you have the right language to know it when you see it. And I can get excited about that. Now, if I am in the business of selling something, whether it is a product or a service, or if I'm in the business of recruiting something, that is an opportunity for the person across from me to qualify themselves in if they are a potential client, boss, and resource. So those of you who are in professional sales, I want you to think of that as a tactic for gaining a client or gaining a second meeting. If you have done your job correctly, the laws of attraction will bring that person to you, and they will ask you to learn more or for another meeting or to attend whatever it is that you are promoting, your ask. And I am a big fan, having been in sales my whole life. I don't like to describe what I do as sales now, but I am in the client acquisition business, so technically it counts. I'm selling a relationship, so to speak. I find that the laws of attraction are far more powerful and far more pleasant for women than, you know, hard-hitting, close, make phone calls, knock on doors kind of thing. So that's my message to you salespeople. And of course, at the end, so we've done you, me. The you is let's recap, make sure I understood you correctly, set a time for another check-in, or at least the interval, and make sure that you're connected so that you know how to contact one another in the future. Where we get into trouble, we don't build the relationship, we aren't curious, we put people on the spot, and ding, 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 we don't have a specific ask. And if you don't have an ask, the person across the table can just adore you, but they can't help you. They won't know when they see it, whatever it is, they won't be able to identify it and provide it to you. So it certainly benefits you to make that ask. So we're going to checkpoint here. Paulina and I are going to role play a little bit of networking. Thank you so much, Paulina, again, for being my guinea pig. And I am going to ask you, while we are speaking, to listen for a little bit of the language and write down for yourself 3 specific things. They could be personal, professional, or financial, whatever. 3 specific things that you want from your network or from the universe. Okay? Paulina, ready, set, go. It's wonderful.
Sorry.
You took the time to meet with me today. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Well, as I said in my introduction, since I came back to my country, Chile, I founded an agency for certified career services providers, meaning like people like me, a speech therapist or psychologist, can get services, but like with a certification. This is something new. Maybe this is something new for you in North America, but here in South America, we don't have much agencies that can certify someone to provide us services, you know. So me and my colleagues created this agency where we can provide our certifications, and that's we are currently working on this agency, but we are just started on this. Yeah, and this is like the beginning of our project with my colleagues, which
That's
are all
really
females.
exciting. Who are your intended clients, and what does this agency need to attract in order to be successful?
Okay, I have to be honest. I know that you have been that you are collecting alpha females. That is something that you say that, and I'm also feel identified by that. That I feel like I'm alpha female as well, and I feel like I do want my agency to be with that perspective, like including like this enthusiasm of like collecting alpha females. So yes, I think that you can help me a lot with that, because like as I say, I have to be honest, I heard about you because that you are looking for alpha females, and that's what I want for my agency. So I need you to like give me some powerful knowledge, or like how to like manage this agency with that kind of a perspective. I don't know if you understand me, like when
I understand, and how nice that that's something that I can help you with. let's set up some time for very specific mentoring and skills work around that. And I will be happy to share. What else is important to you that will make you look good?
Okay, here being an alpha woman is, or an alpha female is kind of like something, as I said, something new, and it's something very, sometimes it's hard. So I do want to ask you for some advice, because like maybe like from the beginning for you to establish like this perspective of like, hey, I want to be collecting alpha females was kind of difficult. So something that you can provide me maybe, and something that I'm sure that you can help me with is like, I need to establish this perspective as something not threatening, because like here is an issue, because when we talk about like alpha females, everyone is like kind of like, we are in a place where like everything is like so unequal, so difficult for women to be in a leadership position. So maybe you have the knowledge and how to like, and some advices on how to start this perspective from a very non-threatening, like in businesses perspective.
So I would be delighted to help. I have to confess something. I open my mouth and say good morning, and I threaten the patriarchy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach into my network and find someone who's a little less scary and see if we can't find more resources for you so that you can pick and choose how you want to build your network and how you want to learn these skills. I think it's fair that you should be able to pick and choose from lots of different possibilities because I'm scary.
No, that's wonderful, Sherry. Thanks for sharing that. I'm so grateful for that. If you can share that, those contacts for me would be awesome.
I am delighted that you were able to make an ask, because it's my goal to be a good ambassador for you, so that when we meet up at the Professional Skills and Development Committee meetings, we can checkpoint your progress, and I'm kind of excited about that. Before we go, let me share with you what I'm looking for from the network. I know you may think you can't get me anything. Our difference in age is great, but I think you can. So there. I'm going to ask you to be an ambassador for me. And that's two things. The first is I want to share a little bit about my ideal client. She is an alpha woman, and she would like a second opinion on how to achieve her goals. She is probably between 35 and 55, and she may already have a relationship with a financial advisor. But there's a second thing that's even more important to me, and you may be able to help me, and that's that I'm seeking my successor. And so I would love a University of Rochester graduate who is at least a generation to a generation and a half behind me. I would like to be introduced to her to see if she wants this career, is willing to credential for the CFP, and can become my successor. That would be really exciting. Could you do that?
Of course. I mean, I'm very like playful with this, like, yes.
That's wonderful. So to recap, I am going to spend some time thinking about what you have asked and reach into my skills basket, put together some time, and we'll go over what I can give you. And that's maybe some business language and skills that will enable you and your team to appear strong and powerful, and we'll get rid of that awful imposter syndrome. We always suffer from imposter syndrome, and it's so unnecessary. And the second is I'm going to reach into my network and see who else would be working in your field, and maybe some of the softer ways that they are able to accomplish your goals of attracting people to the agency. Is that fair?
That sounds perfect to me. If I can get some advices in between, in the meantime, from you, that will be wonderful as well. I don't know if you are able to.
We'll put something right on the calendar after this. And so that'll be our next follow-up. And we are already connected on LinkedIn, but I'm going to double check when we get off this call, okay?
Okay, yeah, great. That sounds wonderful.
So thank you so much, Paulina, for doing that with me. I hope out there in Zoom land, you heard some language that you can use. Obviously, Paulina and I we come from different places. We're in different worlds, but that doesn't mean that we can't be good networking partners for one another. I would like to recap and then open us up for questions. 12:26, so we've got plenty of time. One is find or make a networking home. And what I mean by that is not everybody is good at every style of networking. I already shared with you that social networking around a drink at a bar, standing up at cocktail hours, I'm not good at it. And I'm not good at it for a bunch of different reasons. It doesn't work for me. When I started my career, clients needed to be wined and dined, but they were not necessarily comfortable with a woman picking up the check. I don't know that that's changed significantly depending upon how high in the echelons of power you work. One of the ways I solved that was by creating very lovely breakfast meetings at hotels. Nobody was very unlikely to have alcohol at a breakfast meeting, so I wouldn't fall asleep on my client. Generally, a nice hotel is a wonderful way to give somebody a treat. And I think the other advantage that I discovered is that because people had not been called away from their regularly scheduled crisis yet, they would keep the meeting. My meetings would stick on the calendar. And so it was a great way for me to do one-to-one networking, for me to ask for mentorship, for me to uncover opportunities for business. And I would encourage that. And there was an additional advantage of mastering the breakfast meeting. And that is that later in my career, I managed people who were in recovery and they struggled with how to be successful. And I suggested to them that they use the breakfast meeting as a tool because it would remove the obligation to buy a prospect or a client a beer. And that's not a gender thing. That's just the way the world is. So, you know, when I say find a networking home, I became so happy once the New England group went to Zoom and the New York group Zooming. I love personal interaction, but this was a gift to me to be among my peers. Certainly reaching out on LinkedIn, I think that without selling anything, the premier, if you are in the business of acquiring people, the premier membership on LinkedIn helps you get to more people and see more people, and has been worth it to me. I think everybody has to decide what value these tools bring financially. But think about having a network that is demographic based, whether it's our alumni network, PTA, a community, politics, whatever speaks to you, philanthropy or a volunteer board. Be where you're comfortable. Don't be where someone else is comfortable. You can't be someone else. You can only be your authentic self. And I think you know at this point, because you're all smart cookies, that authenticity sells. Certainly that's a lesson that I'm learning from this generation all the time. Authenticity absolutely sells. Pick one person to get to know at a time, or at least small groups. If you want to be truly productive, you know, that living room type of relationship is just a better way to engage than in large groups. And you certainly should feel free to network with Paulina or myself if you're looking to practice. So no judgment zone, just skills practice. We will make ourselves available to work on these things with you so that you can refine your ask. Because I know that as any performer will tell you, everything benefits from practice and trying on language and repeating it so that when you do deliver the information, it comes out sounding very natural and isn't a hardship. So do we have questions floating around out there?
There are a couple of questions in the chat. From a housekeeping standpoint, feel free to type them in the chat, or if you have a question, you can raise your hand using the reactions function at the bottom. Sherry and Paulina, I'll read the first one from Marcia. I love the idea of building relationships, not transactions, but I find it takes a lot of time. What do you advise for amount of time one might spend networking each week, and where to put it in the list of priorities?
What a great question. Thank you, Marcia. So I met Marcia through the Women's Network and proceeded to launch myself at her to have a one-to-one Zoom coffee. So Marcia is aware of my shtick. And it was productive. It was productive. I would say that in my world, because I do not like to prospect, and remember, I am in a client acquisition business. I do one coffee, one-to-one, and one networking meeting per week. And I've been doing that for years. And I think that for any business, and I know you are in a consulting business, you know the breakdown of how many prospects you need in the pipeline in order to acquire a client or acquire new business from an existing client. And that should be your guide. If you are acquiring 1 or 2 clients per year, well, certainly you do not need to network with the frequency that I network. Certainly, certainly you and I like to check in quarterly for a reason. I don't like to go too far afield without knowing what people's families are doing and how businesses are doing. And once again, Marcia, thank you. I know you've had some accolades and were quoted in the Times this year. You know, how wonderful once you had a networking breakfast, say you were a prospect of mine, that I would be able to reach out to you and say, congratulations, Marcia, this is wonderful. And you knew who I was. You didn't have to look up who I was. You knew who I already am, and not who I was, who I am. Hopefully that's helpful to you. Oh, Pilar, this is good. What advice would you provide on how to approach an organization to volunteer as a board member? Guess what? We have an upcoming Simon Women's Alliance presentation for that. I think that there are 2 tiers of boards. And so you should be aware that there are working boards and there are oversight boards. That's my categorization. I don't know what the MBA folks had said, but know the amount of time, because there are some boards where they just want you for your financial connections, some boards where they want you for your experience and oversight, and other boards of smaller philanthropies that do the heavy lifting. I find that if you really love the cause of the philanthropy, one of those smaller boards for a little bit of heavy lifting on a 3-year commitment is actually extremely rewarding in a community. And I did it myself when I moved 200 miles away. I promptly joined the board of Wellspring, which is a domestic violence resource organization in my county. And so much needed, certainly heart-centered for me, and enabled me to meet people as a working board member in the community. There we go. Thank you, Caroline. So I've got the screen up. The Simons Women's Alliance board is September 22nd. I recommend it highly. Are there other questions out there? Because we're still good for time. We're plenty good for time. Shirley wants to talk, Shirley.
Yes, well, there are many questions. Like Shirley asked, what do you talk about in your client acquisition mode?
Anything the client wants to talk about, right? You, me, you. So if I
That's so important. you, me, you is so effective. I found that like so effective. I guess that's the main advice that I would take from this. Like, you know, the you, me, you is perfect for everything. I think that's kind of like the key cornerstone of this. And it does relate that relates to relationships and not transactions.
Yes.
That's how we
Listen
understand
to the psychologist. Listen to the psychologist. There's something, you know, when you create something catchy, it sticks with you better. So she's automatically attuned to that, which is exciting. Thank you, Nancy, for the kind words. You know, I think that the world does not turn until a salesperson exercises salesmanship. And I think it's important to demystify, and I'm going to say decriminalize, salesmanship, because we are all in the business of selling ideas. And that includes anybody on the phone who's a mommy, because you are always selling ideas to your partner. You are always selling ideas to your kids. You are just always in the business of selling ideas. So you, me, you is not a bad way to approach that as well. So, you know, to your point, Shirley, the answer is I start where my prospective client wants to start. I tell them who my ideal client is, and then I permit them to opt in. You know, obviously, when Paulina and I were speaking, it was a little stilted, but I wanted to make two asks, one a professional ask and one a personal ask. Paulina, are there other questions we want to get to?
We have a question from Nancy. How to approach all the alpha women for mentorship in competitive industries? Nancy works for beauty, and it can be hard to connect with other women without seeming underhanded. That's a difficult ask.
That is brilliant question.
Brilliant, yeah.
So you're gonna have to kind of, you know, buck it up here. I'm going to say something impolitic because remember, I scare the patriarchy. I think we've been conditioned to our own, I'm going to use the word misogyny, but without heat. I think we have been conditioned to compete and dislike ourselves and dial it back by our societal constraints. I can tell you from years of success and years of failure, whatever, but from years of success, that we are not in competition. Perhaps in the dating pool, but we are not in competition. I am happy to sit with 3 women or men who do exactly the same function that I do. And I will tell you, there is no competition for clients because the laws of attraction will bring me people who like my style. And I think that what we're talking about here, about making a very specific ask, part of that is knowing what your style is. Who is attracted to you naturally, rather than spraying, you know, everywhere and hoping that you hit something. Know who adores you as soon as you enter a room, personally, professionally. What is the kind of person that wants to work for you? What is the kind of person who wants to work with you? What is the kind of person who wants to hire you? Those things bring people to you. And all you're really hearing from me is that I love women. And you are the sorority I didn't have when I was in Rochester, so I'm making up for lost time. Please connect to me. And the second is, I know that I am happiest and do my best work with a certain type of person, and when they see me, they know it too. One more item, I'm in a new office. I used to have dolls behind me, and you couldn't tell. I had a client gave me a Billie Jean King doll. She was my idol. Is my idol growing up. But among the other Barbie dolls that were behind me was a little tiny Ruth Bader Ginsburg doll. And if you didn't know what it was, you thought it was a picture sitting behind me somewhere. But if you did recognize it, you knew. So when you know, you know. At that moment, the person in my Zoom for 1.5 years would be able to take the measure of me, and I could take the measure of them. So everything is a semaphore. That's a little bit off topic. It goes back to refine your ask. Does anybody want to share their ask? Do they have something very specific? It is 12:41, so we've got a little time. Very specific that they would like to ask, and put that out there, and maybe we can work it a little bit.
Shirley say yes, and Nancy say yes.
Go ahead, go ahead. Unmute yourselves, feel free. Raise a hand.
Can't see myself. Hello, start video. Okay, nice to see you again, Sherry.
Nice to see you,
Wonderful.
Shirley.
Thank you, and thank you. Nice to meet you, Paulina.
Great.
I am
Nice to meet you
delighted.
too.
Thank you. I'm very delighted to report that at my current stage of life, I am becoming a partner of my business. And because now I'm a partner of my business, which is an investment advisory firm, I would like to acquire more clients. It's a two-way street. Why do I want to have more clients? Because I think a lot of women, especially, they do not know what to do with their finances, even though they are very smart individuals. And I do not know how to reach out to them. And like Sherry just said, she's an introvert. I am born and bred and nurtured as an introvert. You would never believe it now. I can talk to the trees and the walls. But nevertheless, I would like to refine and understand how to approach clients, potential clients, how to meet them, so that the most important part is I hate to be, in your face, give me business, give me business. No, that does not work for me. But on the other hand, in order to cultivate a relationship and gain trust, it takes a long time, especially in the financial business. You need to gather a lot of trust. So I would appreciate mentoring in this field, how to get clients. And look, I agree with you. You cannot be anything else but be your authentic self. So my greatest ask is, how do I do this?
So the joke here, and this is wonderful. So Shirley, thank you for doing this. Shirley and I are competitors. Technically, we want the same clients. That would not change a thing, because for a variety of reasons, the same person may hear me speak, may hear Shirley speak, and we'll make a decision that one is somehow more attractive. And we can't always articulate why, and it's okay. Your people will come to you. So Shirley, one of the things that I did when I came to town, and I'm going to try and answer somebody else's question because Carrie is moving to a new city or has moved. I did not have a network, and I was not putting children into the school system. So some of the natural networks of a school association were lost to me. But one of the things that I'm comfortable doing, and I know you are as well, is I'm a good educator. It's something that I offer my clients that not all financial planners do. I spend a lot of time explaining things to people who want to learn and understand. And as you know, women have a notorious confidence gap when it comes to finances. Men, whether they know anything or not, seem to somehow be more confident. And there's nothing worse than a confident man who knows nothing. Did I say that or think it? Nevertheless, one of the things I did was I discovered that a regional chamber did not have a women's business council. And I thought, what a wonderful opportunity to create reputation. Asked for permission, joined the chamber, found a partner in crime whom I had just met, who was also interested in creating a women's business council, and created it. And one of the things that I found in this council is that every time I stood up and took my 2 minutes to explain who I am and what I did and taught people something, somebody would approach me after the meeting to learn about what I do. And so my answer to you is, Shirley, where would you be anyway? I can't lay off women's networks. I want to teach every graduate of the University of Rochester now how to work with other U of R graduates to do the kind of thing that other schools are associated with. You know, oh yeah, go to this school and you'll have a job just for being an alum. I want us to gain that kind of reputation. I can't lay off. So I want you to say, where would I be? You know, you spend a lot of time in the world of art, etc. Are you where the art collectors are? Because let's face it, if they have money for art, they have money for you. So be where you would be happy anyway, and create an interest group around that. And I'm sure your people will find your way to you.
Thank you.
Meetup. So Carrie used Meetup, and I think that that's great. Oh, sorry, no, I'm sorry, that was Pilar. So good job, Pilar.
Yeah. Yes,
the Meetup app. The Meetup app is really handy. It took a back seat while we were all sequestered, but I would, if you have not explored it, I would look at Meetup. It is not Hookup, it is Meetup. It's an interest group. So still a few more minutes before lunch hour is over and everybody has to go back to their regularly scheduled crisis. Alana still wants to know how to overcome introverted. I think that what I said to Shirley holds true. You know, really, I was stuck inside for months and I was not missing much last year. Didn't bother me in the slightest. So I think that it's one foot in front of the other. Try something. We are creating a safe environment here. So feel free to reach out to, and again, follow up, we'll have our contact information. Reach out to Paulina, reach out to me, practice having a coffee one-to-one over Zoom. Practice some language that appeals to you, and use the you, me, you formula, and you will find that you make friends, because there's really little as compelling as someone who is genuinely interested in you. You know, those people make you want to like them. And if you want to like them, you will want to help them. And so long as you are not the target, and so long as you're not being put on the spot or putting somebody else on the spot, what can it hurt? What can it hurt? Caroline, of course, has indicated that we have our regional network groups. I've joined 2 network groups: Metro New York, Washington, San Francisco Bay, Los Angeles, New England, Rochester. Rochester is new and they're going like gangbusters. So you know, the ones that are meeting virtually, they're not exclusive. So go ahead and join them and practice there. That's a lot of the opportunity I have to talk to people. And oh, by the way, in these small groups, I always put out my ask about a successor, because I would, like I said, I would love that to be a U of R grad. So I, you know, in a group of what, 10, 15 women, hearing that somebody is going to come through for me at some point. Caroline, this is for you about overseas women's networks. Although we certainly invite international, you know, evidence Paulina, we invite international residents to join.
I think that's a good call, because like we don't have an international women's connection networking, so like maybe that's a good call that who bring it up, Christine Pearson. It's a good call maybe to like create a new network, a branch of this one.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to you know, if we do it by time zone, that would work. I think somebody had written something. Oh, Julie. So I have a couple of tools that I have used in corporate, and we can take this up separately if you like. When you're building client relationships with different constituencies in different departments, One of the best things you can do, especially since in a corporate environment, you can look up somebody's hierarchy, is when somebody takes a meeting with you and it is productive, send a thank you, just as you would if it were a social engagement. Send a thank you and copy their superior or person of influence. Thank you for speaking to me about the XYZ project that your department is doing. I took that information and I know that it will make my team more successful. So I cannot thank you again for giving me the time, and I will look forward to doing it again. Please do not fail to ask me if I can return the favor. And that's the make an ambassador, be an ambassador concept. But you're also copying a superior. So boss X is getting this accolade about, well, look, my direct report did this good thing. Let's tuck that in the file for the performance review, or let's let that be known. Let me promote that when I have a meeting, when I am, delivering my slides on the progress this quarter, if I own a particular P&L. They're always looking for qualitative color commentary, if you will, that goes with the numbers if you own a P&L department. So hopefully that's helpful, but reach out if you want to dive deep into that, because I spent a lot of time thinking about corporate influence and how to build reputation in organizations. You would think I didn't have a day job. So anything else? I thank you for the kind words, gang. I look forward to seeing you in the New England and the New York and any other Zoom-based network. And I want to once again remind you that September 22nd from 7 to 8 p.m. in the Eastern time zone is the Simon Women's Alliance Why Board Service Should Be in Your Future. And Meliora, of course, don't miss Gina Davis, but also the portrayal of women in media and entertainment is a Women's Initiative sponsored event, October 1st, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time.
I want to confess something before we go. So I think my nationality, like if you have to say what's your nationality, I think my first nationality is being a woman. That's my first nationality, and then all the other ones that you want to put me in. That's the first thing. So that's the first thing that kept me put towards to be a community. So that's my first nationality, being a woman, and that's what I advocate forever.
Absolutely. And I guess I want to thank Caroline and Maria, who have done an amazing job. We're only a year and a half old. So yay us as the Rochester Women's Network. Yeah. So have a wonderful weekend, everybody, TGIF, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next event.
Yeah, thanks to everyone to be here.